Let us come back to another session on agriculture economics. In this section, we will cover agriculture marketing, functions, and pricing policies. And these are very important in agriculture economics because many universities teaching agriculture economics cover these areas. And let me first discuss agriculture marketing. Agriculture marketing is a process by which the producers and buyers of agricultural goods are brought together. And this definition of agricultural marketing emphasizes two things. One is the buyers of agricultural goods, and second, the chain through which buyers and sellers of agricultural goods are connected with each other. We divide the buyers into three main groups. One is those who purchase agricultural goods for direct consumption, and second, those who demand agricultural goods for use as intermediate goods, and third, those who buy agricultural goods for export purpose. And what are the significance of agriculture marketing, or why do we say that agriculture marketing is important? It's because of several reasons. The first, of course, is in agriculture sector we observe the absence of marketing, proper marketing, and because of that farmers will be forced to sell their products at throwaway prices. And this is because of the reason that farmers are very poor and low income people. Therefore, as soon as harvesting is over, they are likely to sell their products in the market at whatever price they get. They can't afford to wait for a long period of time to fetch a higher price for their products because of the absence of storing and other type of warehousing facilities. And secondly, if marketing is done by small and marginal farmers, it will not be remunerative for them because they may have to spend a lot of money on processing and transportation. And thirdly, small farmers do not have access to modern marketing facilities. Let us see what are the defects in the agriculture marketing system. Of course, one is forced sales. That is a compulsory sales on the part of the farmers to sell their products immediately after harvesting without getting a remunerative prices for their products. And secondly, inadequate and expensive facilities of transport and communication. And third, inadequate storage facilities. And fourth is the existence of middlemen and malpractices, and middlemen pocket a good chunk of money. And other is unauthorized deductions and multiplicity of charges, and absence of grading and standardization, lack of marketing information. What are the measures taken by the government to address the problem of agriculture marketing? First step is establishment of regulated markets. The regulation of markets introduces a system of competitive buying, ensures the use of standardized weights and measures, and evolves suitable machinery for the settlement of disputes. In short, the regulated markets help the farmers to get remunerative prices for their products. Second is provision of storage and warehousing facilities. Scientific storage is crucial from the point of view of farmers and the consumers, and many agencies engage in warehousing and storage facilities like Food Corporation of India, Central Warehousing Corporation, and State Warehousing Corporations. And another is grading and standardization. We know that if commodities are graded, it will fetch high prices. Grading can be done on the basis of quality, primary commodity, secondary commodity, and like that. Primary commodities normally fetch a high price for the high price. And grading and standardization is very important in agriculture marketing, and we have taken a lot of steps towards ensuring grading and standardization. Normally, grading and standardization is carried out under the provisions of Agriculture Produce Grading and Marketing Act 1937. And there is use of standard weights. Use of non-standard weights by brokers to cheat the farmer is a major defect of unregulated markets in our country. Governments have taken a number of steps to tackle this problem. The Standard Weights Act was passed in 1939. And there is dissemination of market information. This is an important problem. In agriculture sector, there exists market information asymmetry. information is not equally shared between the cultivators and the producers, and this of course affects the interest of these market participants. Therefore, to apprise the farmers of prices in different markets and the condition of demand for agricultural produce, market information on cost and prices is made available to the farmers through different media, both print and electronic. Internet also helps in disseminating accurate and quick market information on cost and prices. Let us see what are the characteristics of agricultural goods. I explained two important characteristics of agricultural goods. One is product characteristics and the other is consumption characteristics. Let us look at the product characteristics. One is agricultural commodities are bulky in size and therefore they fetch or they get less value. And second, perishable commodities. Agricultural goods cannot be stored for a long time, unlike in the case of the industrial products. And storage of commodities in unfavorable condition may result in deterioration of its quality. Therefore, it is very important that agricultural commodities are stored under certain conditions which do not decrease its quantity and quality. And third is varying uncertain quality and quantity. We know that agricultural commodities are produced by small and marginal farmers, and by nature the products being produced by these people do not share any homogeneous characteristics in terms of quality and quantity. They are different from cultivators to cultivators, from region to region, and the like. And therefore, it creates a lot of problems in marketing the agricultural commodities. And another fourth important product characteristics is elastic supply. We know that agricultural commodities are very responsive to its prices, and increase in price will definitely force the farmers to engage in more cultivation, and therefore the agricultural supply is very sensitive to its price. And what are the consumption characteristics? One is continuous. Continuous means people regularly need agricultural goods, hence its consumption is continuous in nature. And second, regular supply we need and in small quantity. So people use agricultural goods in small quantity, although its consumption is regular. Inelastic demand. Unlike the supply of agricultural good, its demand, commodities demand is inelastic. That means even if price is too high, people would continue to purchase some amount of commodities. And even if price is too low, it doesn't mean that people will purchase more commodities in bulk quantities. That doesn't happen. That means whatever is the price, the people will continue to demand certain amount of agricultural commodities. So the demand for agricultural commodity normally seems to be inelastic. And now we turn towards marketing functions. What is meant by marketing function? Marketing function means in order to market agricultural commodities, we need to take a number of steps, a number of specialized activities. These specialized activities are together known as marketing functions. So marketing function is defined as a major specialized activity performed in accomplishing the marketing process. There are three important marketing functions. One is assembling. Assembling is also known as procurement or concentration. The next is processing, preparation for consumption, and third is dispersion. That is nothing but the distribution of commodities. Let us see the first thing, assembling. We know that agricultural commodities are produced by farmers living in different parts of the country. So it is imperative that we must take commodity from each and every farmer and bring these commodities together at a particular place. And this is what is assembling. Assembling means bringing together, collecting and concentrating goods of the same type from the various sources of supply at centrally located places. Agricultural goods are assembled for two purposes. First, for meeting the demand for consumers, and second, to provide a sufficient volume of business to middlemen like wholesalers and retailers. And there is processing. Processing is nothing but preparing the commodity for consumption. Agriculture commodities are normally not ready for final consumption when they leave the farm. Therefore, they need to be converted into suitable form before they are sold to consumers. Processing helps to create a new demand and maintain the quality of the product for a longer period. Processing may be defined as the act or series of acts by which a product is converted into a more usable form. Dispersion is the opposite to the assembling. As after assembling and processing, the process of dispersion begins. Dispersion involves finding where potential buyers are located, how much and what products they prefer, and what price they are ready to offer. It also involves selling of the goods, their physical movement and handling, and the transfer of funds back to central and assembly markets. And to do these services of assembling, processing, and dispersion, we need certain other type of secondary services. Secondary services are grading, packing, transporting, storing, financing, assuming risk, and selling. Grading, we know, that means classifying the commodities based on its quality. Primary quality, second quality, third quality, and like that. Packing means putting the commodity into different type of containers, and that will help us to market the commodities very easily, and packing will help us to fetch a good reasonable price for the products, and packing helps us to advertise the product very quickly. So therefore packing is very important. And third is transportation, which seems very important in agriculture marketing because farmers are located in every nook and corner of our country. So we have to take agriculture produce from them, and for that we need a good transportation facility. And the other is storing, of course. Storing helps us to make the commodity available for a long period of time, and for that purpose we have warehousing facilities. And the other is financing. Financing is very required because both the cultivators and the middlemen they need finance to start this sowing process. Means the cultivators need it for sowing purpose, cultivation process, and the buyers, especially the middlemen, they also require it. In certain times, they require a huge quantity of fund from financial institutions, and of course from informal financial institutions also. And the other is assuming risk. Different types of risk are involved in agriculture marketing. A physical risk and also market risk. And to cover these risks, we need to be insulated with the help of the insurance products. And we have the crop insurance and general insurance to help ourselves from different types of insurance or different types of risk. And finally, it is the selling, making the commodity available to products at affordable prices. And now, another important area in marketing is cooperative marketing. So cooperative marketing actually tries to address most of the problems involved in agriculture marketing. And we know that various marketing functions are performed by middlemen in the agriculture sector. Very often middlemen charge high price for their services. As a result, the primary producer does not receive his due share of the price paid by the consumer. The consumer pays high price while the producer gets the low price. The difference is known as the price spread, and price spread goes to the hands of the middleman. The objective of cooperative marketing is to reduce this price spread so as to ensure a better price to the producer without affecting the interest of the consumer. And cooperative marketing is organized the sale of farm products on a non-profit basis in the interest of the individual producer. Two types of cooperatives are there. One is producer cooperatives and the other is consumer cooperatives. Producer cooperatives attempt to distribute their own products in the hope of obtaining better prices, whereas consumer cooperatives attempt to take over the distribution in order to buy products at low prices. So the intention of the producer cooperatives is to get high prices for their products, and consumer cooperatives stand for getting the products at the lowest possible prices. What are the advantages of cooperative marketing? Of course, it helps us to reduce cost and increase the services, and it increases the marketability of products, and it improves the bargaining power, and it helps to ensure steadier supply to the wholesale market, and it attempts to make available cheaper finance for both the cultivator and the middleman, or to the consumers to a greater extent. And another important thing in agriculture supply is supply lag. This is very important in agriculture economics. Why is it very important? Because we know that agriculture supply, in the case of the agriculture commodities, its supply is elastic because it responds to prices. It responds to prices very quickly. But agriculture commodities are produced with the help of the nature, and nature normally takes time to cultivate and produce it. And in the case of agriculture commodities, the supply of commodities reacts with a time lag. This is because all supply decisions take time to implement. The simplest possible time lag is one in which this year's price has no effect on this year's supply. This means that this year's supply, or ST, is based on last year's price, PT minus 1. That is, supply at time period T depends on the price of the product in the previous time period, T minus 1. We write this relation as ST is a function of PT minus 1. Because if a price increases in 2020, what happens is that farmers start cultivating now, but they will harvest normally in 2020. So harvesting takes place in 2020, but price increases in 2020. Harvesting takes place in 2021. So supply is lagged for 1 year in the agriculture sector, and this is what's called a supply lag. And in the agriculture sector, there is the possibility of perverse supply curve. What is perverse supply curve? This is a special feature of the agriculture supply curve, quite different from what we normally see in the industrial sector. In the industrial sector, as price increases, supply goes on increasing. But in the case of the agricultural commodities, the increase in supply has certain limitation that doesn't go on increasing along with the increase in prices. This is because of the special feature of the agriculture sector, that agriculture production doesn't take place on a corporate business basis. Agriculture production is normally done by the small and marginal farmers, and they have low target income, and therefore when they reach this target income, they stop producing more and more even if price increases. And that means it is seen that the supply of agriculture product for small family farmer will be perverse. The reason for this is that the small farmer has a low target cash income. So once this is attained, the farmer would only try to maintain it. If the price of his produce further rises, he would produce less and enjoy more leisure. This is the picture of a perverse supply curve. Along x-axis we show the quantity, and along y-axis price. And we know that initially as price increases, supply also increases, but after some time supply starts responding negatively to the increases in the price. So the supply curve bends towards the left or the y-axis. Then another important thing in agricultural economics is the price support policies. What is price support? Because why do we require this price support? First of all, price support is very important in agriculture sector, because we know that in bought harvest, the rise in price might more than compensate the fall in yield, and the producers might reap higher total revenue. So in bought harvest, what happens is that prices increase too fastly, too much price increases. So that will give a good revenue to the farmers. But in good harvest, what happens is that prices might fall so low that in spite of high yields, producers might end up with small total revenue. So good harvest, there is a fall in prices, but in bad harvest there is a hike in prices. And so to stretch out this volatility in prices, we need we need what is called minimum support price policies. So there is a strong case for minimum support prices for food grains because of these variations in agriculture prices depending upon bad harvest and good harvest. Now we define the support price. We define the minimum support price MSP as a reserve price announced in advance of the production period, that is the sowing season. Support price can also be defined as a price at which government would be under obligation to buy the entire stocks that may be offered to it for sale. So it's a guaranteed price. So by announcing the minimum support price, government is encouraging cultivators to start cultivating the products. They don't have to be afraid of the oscillations in agriculture prices. They will be guaranteed a minimum support price, and therefore it is an obligation on the part of the government to buy out the product from the market at the minimum support price. Now, categories of support price policies. Based on the objectives, we have different categories of support price policies. And support price policy has three main objectives. One is stability, the other is equity, and the other is growth. Stability means to ensure the stability of prices and products. Equity means to ensure that everyone in the agriculture sector, every producer gets a reasonable remunerative price. And third is growth. It means to ensure that agriculture sector grows over years. Objectives of price support policy are not same in all countries. It varies from countries to countries depending upon different economic circumstances. In advanced countries, support price policy aims at maintaining the general level of farm incomes. But in developing economies, the main objective is to help augment agriculture production. Two types of support price policies are there. One is income-oriented support price policy, and the other is protection-oriented support price policy. Income-oriented support price policy is usually applied in the case of developed countries, because in developed countries, the farm incomes lag behind the non-farm incomes. Therefore, it is imperative that the farm incomes of the people gets increased along with the non-farm incomes. Otherwise, there will be much disincentive on the part of the farmers to cultivate. So therefore, it is very important for the government to ensure that the farm incomes do not fall, and to ensure that the developed countries adopt income-oriented support price policy. So the main aim of the income-oriented support price policy is to ensure that the farmers get adequate income from farming process. But in developing economies, the objective of price support policy is different. The main objective is to augment production. Because in most developing economies, we know that agricultural production doesn't come to the requirement level. Therefore, the developing economies are characterized by poverty and the other type of adverse economic circumstances. So therefore, the intention of the government in developing economies is to force the people to cultivate more and more. So in developing economies, adopt protection-oriented support price policy. In developing economies, the price support policy performs the following functions. One is to accelerate the rate of growth of agricultural output. Second, to stabilize price in order to prevent fluctuations. And third, to bring about desired changes in product mix and to increase marketable surplus. Need for agriculture price policy. Agriculture prices fluctuate violently and frequently under the free market mechanism, to the disadvantage of both the producers as well as consumers. For instance, in the bumper crop years, prices fall too low to leave farmers any margin, And in the light crop years, prices rise so steeply that the farmers have a very little marketable surplus. Similarly, these fluctuations in prices affect consumers badly. Therefore, we need two types of prices. Our agriculture sector must ensure two types of prices. First is a price which protects the farmers by ensuring them remunerative prices for their produce. Remunerative prices means prices which cover at least their cost of production. So farmers are expected to get at least remunerative prices for their products. Second, to safeguard the interest of the low-income consumers by assuring them minimum supplies of food at reasonable prices. Agriculture price policy in India. In India, we have two distinct phases as far as the agriculture price policy is concerned. The first stage ends with 1965 and the second stage starts with 1965. So 1965 is a cutoff point, that is the period or the phase till 1965 and the phase since 1965. And till 1965, the government was following an ad hoc agriculture price policy. We had no clear-cut agriculture policies till 1965. But since 1965, we started adopting a very planned agricultural price policies. So active agriculture price policies have been practiced in our country since 1965. And after 1965, there have been good number of developments in the agriculture sector. For example, Agriculture Prices Commission (APZ) was established after 1965, and we set up Food Corporation of India after 1965. So these are some of the important developments which have taken place since 1965 in the agriculture sector of our country. And now we turn to discussing the difference between minimum support prices and procurement prices, MSP and PPS. And these are very important because these prices usually guide the movement of the agriculture sector in a country. A minimum support price is a floor price which is calculated on the basis of the cost of production and would be announced prior to the sowing season. MSP is in the nature of long-term guarantee to the producers. Once MSP is announced, it is implied that the government is committed to purchase at the announced rate of MSP any quantity of crop irrespective of the level of the market price. But in the case of the procurement prices, procurement price is a price which is to be announced later and will be fixed in terms of a premium over and above the MSP. So procurement prices are higher than the MSP. PP or procurement price is an instrument used by the government for making purchases for feeding the public distribution system. Therefore, here we have to ensure a regular supply of the agriculture commodities, and for that purpose we have the public distribution system, fair price shops, and so through fair price shops we make the commodity available to the people at affordable prices and at a ration quantity. And to ensure sufficient quantity of the commodities being given through the fair price shops, we have to store the commodities in FCI godowns and warehousing. And for that purpose, to replenish the PDS system, we have to purchase the commodities from the open market, and for that we use the procurement price. So that's why procurement prices are normally higher than the minimum support price. So the intention of the minimum support price is to induce the farmer to cultivate more and more, whereas the intention behind procurement price is to buy commodities from the agriculturist so that these commodities could be stored in warehousing and FCA godowns, and in times of necessity these commodities will be brought into the fair price shops and will be sold to the people at affordable prices. So this is the difference between MSP and PP. MSP is a guarantee for the farmer, and PP, procurement price, is a price being offered by the authorities to purchase commodities from the open market to replenish the public distribution system. Public distribution system of course seems very important, and the idea of PDS is born out of the need to ensure food security in India. Its main features are as follows. One is distributing selected necessary commodities in fixed quantity through fair price shops, and second, PDS coexists with the market. It doesn't distract the market, supplant the market, but it coexists with the market. And third, a buffer stock is kept and replenished to run the public distribution system, and items supplied via the fair price shops are priced less compared to the market prices. And buffer stock operation. Buffer stock operations refer to the buying of goods and selling the same with the purpose of moderating price fluctuations. Under this, buying is done to prevent prices from falling too low in the open market, and selling is undertaken to check steep hike in prices. Thus, the main aim of buffer stock operation is to moderate price fluctuation rather than eliminating fluctuation altogether. A buffer stock policy is to supplement the market and not to supplant the market. When buying is done under buffer stock operation, it adds to the existing market demand, and when selling is done, it augments the existing market supply. Thank you.